and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ross, and with me this evening is Todd Patkin. Did I get that name right, Todd?
Perfect, Mark. Perfect.
Todd, you are an entrepreneur of sorts, and you're also a philanthropist. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yeah, you're correct. I ran a company for 18 years, an automobile parts company. We sold it in 2005. Then I went into writing my books on happiness, but also doing a lot of philanthropy.
Okay, cool. Well, before we get into your books, I just wanted to get a background about who Todd is and set the foundation for why you started doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because
Well, growing up, I was a pretty insecure kid. I was bullied a lot. It turned me into a perfectionist. I couldn't beat the bullies physically, but I wanted to beat them in the schoolroom. Perfectionism, Mark, is brutal. If you have it follow you throughout your life, you can't be perfect because you're a human being. So you're fallible. So you're always going to make mistakes. I also suffered from a lot of homesickness. All of this followed me to college. The homesickness, the bullying, the perfectionism. I had a really difficult 4 years. In fact, I say I'm proudest in my life of graduating college, and it's not because I wasn't smart enough. I almost couldn't hang in there because of the stress and anxiety and depression. I went into the family business. It was perfect for me. Loved every minute of it. My job was to focus on the sales and the profits, hiring young people my age at that point, 23-year-olds. We were, the competition had mostly bike riders, guys who were a lot more focused on getting on their motorcycles than actually making money. I brought young guys on board. I gave them the opportunity to make a lot of money. I taught them about appreciating the customers and doing anything they had to do. We were extremely successful. We sold the business in 2005, but in 2001, Mark, when I was 36, I had a complete nervous breakdown. I was suicidal. I wanted to kill myself for over a week. And I really had to ask myself at that point, Todd, you've got more money than you ever dreamed. You have a beautiful wife, a wonderful son. You want to kill yourself. Something's wrong. And that's when I started to look at myself and come up with a 12-week program to happiness.
Okay. So I know you mentioned something that stuck out to me. You said you were homesick a lot.
Yeah, what happened is I'm Jewish, and the Jewish faith, a lot of times they send their kids in the summertime off to camps, overnight camps. And I wasn't ready for it. And when they sent me, I couldn't take it. So after 3 or 4 days, I did what I had to do, which was to fake drinking paint. That was the only way, drinking paint, because they wouldn't send you home. They wanted you to stick it out, but I couldn't. So I faked drinking paint. Maybe I really would have drank paint and killed myself, and they sent me home. But ever since then, I struggled with homesickness. Nowadays, they have a study. It shows 94% of the freshmen in college are homesick, 94%. But I didn't know that then. So I thought I was the only man, so to speak, at 22 years old that came home every weekend to be with his parents.
So where'd you go to school at?
I went to Tufts, which is a really tough, using the same word, school. They say if you can't get into Harvard, you go to Tufts. It was very, very brutal for a perfectionist.
Okay. And I was about to talk about that perfectionist piece because you mentioned about having to be perfect because you couldn't outdo the bullies physically, but you could do it mentally. And I know that perfectionist aspect of you, I know you mentioned that a few times in your bio. So I just want to, get a better understanding of was your drive to be quote unquote perfect, was it a result of the bullying or the outside influences, or was it from your family?
No, I think it was really more the bullying. My parents never pushed me to do, straight A's or anything like that. It was just internal. Maybe part of it was I was a younger brother and I wanted to outdo him for my father's love. That's possible, but I think it had a lot to do with the bullies as well.
Okay. And did you think that that the perfectionism had uh, anything to do with you uh, pushing the family business to a higher level?
Absolutely. That's the perfectionism, wanting to always be perfect. If I was up 20% the next month, why can't I be up 25%?
Mm.
Constantly pushing. People in the company said, Todd, you're gonna have a breakdown. You can't push that hard all the time. Your body can only take so much. And
Indeed.
they were right. I had a break.
Yeah, yeah. So, how many employees did you have? Just out
How
of
many
curiosity.
what?
Employees.
I had about 550 underneath me.
Wow. And
Yeah.
how long were you in charge of the family business?
It was my brother, me, and my father, and I was there for 18 years. But I was responsible for all of the profits, meaning the sales, the gross profit percentage, the expenses. So I really had the bulk of it on my shoulders. Um, I would say for the last 15 years, the first three I was learning.
Okay, okay. And you mentioned you had a breakdown. So, can you tell breakdown? Can you tell me uh what happened to lead you to that point in your life when you had that breakdown
Yeah.
with the
I think I was just pushing myself too hard. I was loving every minute of it, but I wasn't
okay.
stopping. I was working 6 days a week. I had a new son. I was trying to be a good dad, but just pushing, pushing, pushing. At some point, you run out of gas.
Mm,
And
mm,
and I know I had a friend who worked. He's a psychologist who works with lots of people. He said, Todd, in all my years of working, I've never seen anyone who flew so high to the moon so quickly. And if you do that so quickly, you're bound to crash. Most people might fly, at a level where they go from 5 to 12 to 13 to 15. I went from like 5 to 20 to 100 right off the bat
mm,
and stayed there as long as I could before I crashed.
mm. Wow. And so so obviously that was a low point for you. Uh when was it during that low point that you said, I can't be here anymore. What was the turnaround point for you to,
So
to
it's
turn?
all, yeah, it's all medication when you're that low. When you want to kill yourself, when you can't get out of bed, when you feel terrible, you
Mm,
have two choices. You can take medication. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling people to take medicine right now, but I am
mm,
telling you, if you want to kill yourself, meds will get you out of it within 3 weeks.
mhm,
If you don't take meds, it could take you 6 months to feel better. So I highly recommend meds. They got me right back to where I was feeling better within 3 weeks.
mm. Okay, okay. Now, I asked that question because for myself, uh, what turned me around was a few things. Uh, when I was going through my PTSD really hard, Todd, uh, I hit such a low because I self-medicated. I self-medicated through drinking. Uh, and there was one point in my life that I was I, I was happy in most circumstances of my life, but I knew that something was wrong and I didn't do the work. I didn't do the work to admit that I had a problem and did the work to help fix the problem. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I was out with a friend and I think it was around New Year's, maybe it was years ago. But I remember, Todd, that I got so drunk that I passed out at the club.
Okay.
And a security guard that was at the club, he saw me and he stayed around me the whole time because he knew that I was zoned out, blacked
Okay.
out, done. I was trying to fight through this drunkenness, but I couldn't. And he came to me and he told me to basically go home.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Bro, no, you can't. You're not going to make it tonight. You need to just chalk it up and go home and sleep that off." So I did, and it really made me look at things different as
Good.
far as what am I doing, right? I thought I was okay. I thought I was happy, in most aspects of my life, but in some aspects, Todd, I wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And the suicide thing, I, I'm with you on that too. There were times that, hey, I didn't want to be here. I did not want to be here. And it was through friends and in this case, strangers that helped save my life.
That's fantastic. Did you need to get, antidepressants?
I had to get put on medications. Yes.
Okay, good,
Yes.
good, good,
And
good.
I went through the medication phase. I went through uh, counseling, still going through that. I went through group counseling, right, to get to understand what PTSD is, because I didn't know. I didn't know, and I ran from it a lot. And what I mean by that is I denied the reality that I was dealing with some things that was beyond my control.
Mm,
It makes sense. I was
absolutely.
I was running from that, Todd, and uh, like I said, it wasn't until those chain of events happened, and the people that came into my life did, and they helped me look at myself for what I am.
Right.
So I say that to ask you this: did the circumstances of what you went through and how hard you pushed yourself made you realize, like, damn, self, I'm not where I'm at. I'm not really where I want to be.
Mm.
And
Well, when you want to kill yourself, absolutely, you're not where you want to be. But I also, realized one of the things I always liked to do in my life, even before the breakdown, was help people. If
Mhm,
there were people that were downcast, I'd always try to raise them up. So, I look at it as such a blessing that I went through what I went through, because somebody today who's suicidal and they want to kill themselves, and they'd rather speak to me or you than they
mhm,
would a doctor, because we've been there with them. So
mhm,
there's so much, like, what you're doing, so important with your podcast show. These are the things I try to do by coming on the podcast, is let people know we're all in it together.
mhm, mhm.
Lots of us are going to struggle. We need to help each other out, and don't be afraid to take the meds if you need them.
Indeed, indeed. And this is an interesting question I want to ask of you, Todd. During our initial conversation, you mentioned to me, we talked about suicide, and that from your perspective, you think that suicide is higher amongst people with a higher income income brackets. Uh, I could sort of see that, but can you elaborate a little bit more as to why you think that is?
Well, I know that a lot of people who are rich kill themselves, just like people who aren't as wealthy. I think this is what happens. I assume when you have no money and you want to die, it kind of makes sense. I have
Mm,
no money, my life sucks, I want to die. Now,
mm,
let's say you have millions of dollars and you say, well, it doesn't really make sense. I have millions of dollars and I want to die. What's I'm even more fucked up than someone who
mm.
had, you know what I'm saying? You can't really rationalize,
Right.
so it kind of screws you up even more.
Yeah, yeah.
You're feeling down, you want to kill yourself, and then you really don't have a reason to kill yourself because you got everything there is. So I
Hmm.
think it can screw you up even a little bit more when you have it all.
Mm, hmm. Hmm. Because I had to, I had to look that up, and the research that I looked up said that suicide rates are 13% lower in U.S. counties with the highest household incomes. But back to your point, though, I could see people that make a lot of money go over the edge because they have to present themselves as okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They hang around in circles of people that have money and
Mm-hmm.
they have that prestige and they have that image, and you want to present as if you are rolling with the Joneses, so to speak.
Absolutely.
You got the car or cars, you got the home, or the vacation home or whatever. You have what they have, but behind closed doors, Todd, and this surpasses income. People are not really happy.
Mm-hmm. Only 18% of Americans say they're happy.
18%?
Say they're really happy, or they're as happy as they'd like to be. That's the quote.
Come on, man. We got work to do.
That's right. That's right.
We
I mean,
got
a lot of rich kids, because they've never had to do anything in their life.
Mhm.
Like you've heard of helicopter parents. The parents do everything. The kid needs to get an oil change. I'll take it down there. Don't worry about it, son, daughter. You never gain any self-esteem for yourself unless you actually do things. Because so many of these kids have no self-esteem. They just play video games all day.
Mm.
So if your parents are really wealthy, a lot of times there's a breakdown in the family because the father or the woman who's making all the money is never home.
Mm-hmm.
The other one oftentimes is spending the money and you're home by yourself. So breakdown of the family, and you never really have to do anything for yourself.
Mm. Spoon fed.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Kids, spoiled kids.
Right. Exactly.
Let's keep it a buck. They're spoon fed and spoiled.
100%. There's so many of them now. They're really struggling.
I bet, because they don't know how to handle life.
Exactly.
They don't know how to
Exactly.
handle life.
They've had it too easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like a blessing and a curse. It's like, okay, you don't have to worry about struggling. You don't have to worry about needing anything. But the fact of the matter is, and you said this, mom and pops, they got it. That you don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to worry about changing the tire. So when you become an adult and you go out into manhood or womanhood or whatever it is, and life hits you right in your ass, you don't know how to take it.
Absolutely. The other thing is, it's important in life to struggle. When I look at my business, and we were very successful, but the first year or two, we thought we might go out of business. The very first year or two. Those are the times I enjoyed the most, when your back's up against the wall and you're nervous as hell because you don't know if you can turn on the lights. I enjoyed that more than, 8 years later when we were making a lot of money and there were no worries and the money just kind of came in because we were doing so well. I think the struggle. Oh yeah, if you look back on your life, I think you'll the times that were the toughest, you appreciate it the most. And oftentimes, if you look at your life, the times that were the toughest turn out to be the best. They're the ones that turned you around. Mm-hmm. For example, let's say you have a really great year in work, and all of a sudden you're so proud of yourself, you kind of get off to a slow start the next year. So the great year creates a worse year the next year. But let's say you have a really bad year, and now you beat yourself up and you say, damn it, that really was horrible. I got to get harder on myself for the following year. So you do better. So a lot of times things that appear to be bad in your life, if you go back and look at the results, they were actually very positive.
And I didn't forget about asking about your workbook, but I do want to ask you, because what you said it triggered me to go to this question. You said in your bio something that really made me think, and what you said reflected. You said you believe that you was put on this earth and made to go through so much unhappiness and anxiety so that you will be able to help others learn to become happier themselves.
Perfect. Absolutely. I believe that the reason why God put me through all of this and made me a pretty good public speaker is so that I could kind of be, one of his disciples, somebody who goes through life just trying to light people up and make people feel better. People don't realize that you can learn how to be happy. It just isn't like the wind that blows into your life and one day you're happy and the next day you're not. There are steps you can learn. I have a 12-step process, and you actually learn ways that you can become a happier person. And a lot of times people say, you know what, I'm not that happy, but it's too hard to learn something new. Your kids will be just like you. So if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your kids, so they're happier people.
Indeed. So talk about your book, the 12-step program to happiness. Is that the book?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Well, we start out with exercise, and people say, oh my God, this is so boring. Why would I read that book? But exercise is the quickest way you can go from unhappy to happy. Just like that. You just go to the gym and all of a sudden you feel like $1 million.
I don't want.
Sorry?
Release those endorphins.
Oh, exactly.
Yes, sir.
And when people first start out, we don't want you to overdo it. That's what usually happens. And, January 1st, you have 1,000 people join a gym and only 50 stay because they start pounding with 20 pounds and they should start with 5. The next thing is to listen to or read motivational or positive material. That gets your mind in the right frame. So the body is in the right frame with physical exercise, and the mind becomes in the right frame with all of this mental excitement. Then we jump into the 12-week program, and the first week that really matters the most is how you talk to yourself. Most of us say things to ourselves all day long, like, I can't believe how fat I am. I can't believe how stupid I am. I can't believe what a bad father I am. I can't believe what a bad son I am. And we beat ourselves up terribly. Mm-hmm. We also try to be perfectionists. We do 100 things right in a day, one thing wrong. What do we focus on? The one thing that's wrong. And then the next day we do the same thing. So we're constantly beating ourselves up. So we need to take a look at that, and we need to change that. So first we need to just catching ourselves when we begin to treat ourselves harshly. And then eventually you want to change the talk. So if I say to myself, I can't believe how stupid I am, instead I want to say, I'm actually a pretty smart guy. That was just kind of dumb what I did yesterday. Or if you're used to coming home and saying, my God, that was the worst day of my life, let's change it to, today was a little bit off. It feels so different. You also want to spend time each day talking about the positive. What are some positive things that you did? So it's not just all negative. We want to focus on living in the present. We spend 49.6% of our time, Mark, not in the present. We're in the past upset about things that someone did to us, or in the future, we are concerned about something that might happen. And we need to realize these things that we worry about in the future, number one, they probably won't happen. And even if they will happen, they're not going to kill us. Next, we want to focus on living to your strengths. All of us have God-given talents that we're better than most people at, and things that we're not so good at. You want to spend most of your time in your strengths. What I mean by that is you want to make a list of the 5 things you love to do the most, and the 5 things you think you're better at than most people. And then anything that's on both lists is what you should be spending your time on in life. That's your zone. We want to eliminate stressors. There are certain things in life that you just shouldn't be doing. Like I'm not good at putting things together. It used to frustrate me when I tried to put my son's crib together or a desk together. I just don't do that anymore. It puts me in such a bad mood. So you want to see if you can get other people to help you with that. And if you can't, you want to at least look at it differently. Like, let's say that you need to help your kids with their homework every night and you absolutely hate it. Look at it differently. I get to spend this quality time with my kids and really make them good young adults. We want to spend time with positive people, not negative people. So I encourage you to make a list of all the people you spend the most time with and rank them, each of them on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being they're totally negative, brutal. 5 being they're totally positive. And then you add those numbers up and divide by 5, if there's 5 of them. And that's your average score for positivity. And if you're at a 1 or a 2, you need to make some changes. And it's difficult to make changes with friends, but what you want to do is let them know that you've decided to go on a more positive path. You'd like them to do the same thing. Would they do that? And hopefully they will, and then you'll both be going from a 1 or a 2 to a 5. If they won't do it, then eventually you start spending less time with them. So those are some of the ones in the workbook.
Okay. That I got you on that. And you also wrote you created an autobiography as well, correct?
Yeah, I really wanted people to know everything about myself. So I kind of imagined it like in high school, a lot of science classes, you just dissect a frog. So I envisioned myself lying on a table and people dissecting me, all my most embarrassing moments. Because I think young kids do things that are embarrassing and they think it's so stupid and they think they're the only ones that ever did it. Like, for example, I got invited to a prom by this beautiful girl when I was in 10th grade. And I wore, I think I wore work boots. My dad says there's no way I wore work boots, but whatever I wore on my feet, she was horrified. And then when we got to the dance, I pulled the chair out and she sat on the floor. So
She
for the
sat
next,
on the floor?
she did. I pulled the chair out for her.
Oh,
And then I didn't push it back quick enough.
oh
So
my
she
goodness.
sat on the floor. So that really bothered me for 2 or 3 years, you know, but I felt like I was the only one in the world who ever did that. But when you get older, you realize you're not.
Right, right.
A girl ruined my senior year of high school. She bullied me so much. And I thought I was the only guy ever bullied by a girl. But you know what? I wasn't. So I wanted to write this autobiography to help some of the young kids realize that, you know what? Every man has gone into a business meeting with their fly down. Every one of us. Doesn't matter if you're the president of the United States, you've done it at least once. So just to kind of chill everybody out.
So talk about your philanthropy, Todd. What are you into?
Well, I do a lot in India now. It's a great philanthropy where we actually get young girls out of brothels, prostitution. And then we teach them skills and build them up, and they become nurses and doctors and all sorts of wonderful things. We have a program in Boston called Women to Women, where we bring 100 young girls from 50 different countries to Boston every year and teach them about leadership skills. We feel like women, more than men, really will lead peace throughout the world. I do some work in Israel, being Jewish. There's a orphanage that I'm very involved with. Those are the main ones I'm involved with.
Nice, nice. And it's good, you know. I can't imagine how good it must make you feel, uh, being able to help others and give back, right?
It is,
Because
but you have to be careful, because for me, it's such a drug that sometimes I overdo it. So my wife and my son get really upset when I give away too much money.
I can understand. They're trying to pull the reins back in, like, hey, man, hey.
They need to, because I can I can give away a lot of money.
Okay, okay, that's cool. Do you have any, amongst everything that you have going on, do you have any upcoming projects for your future?
Well, right now there's a thing called Udemy, Udemy, and it's a place that you can go to. Everybody does from throughout the world, and you can buy courses for anything, science. And now they have a section on happiness. So I'm putting together a course for Udemy, and I'm hoping to get 50,000 people who will take the course. That's the kind of numbers that they do there, which is really astonishing.
Nice. I've heard of Udemy and the fact that they are providing so many courses and classes and teachings and whatnot. And I think a lot of them are, if really affordable, if not free, right?
Yeah, $19 each. Yeah, you have to charge, because Udemy takes a piece of it. They get 20%. So if I didn't charge, they wouldn't let me do it, because they want to make money. But the average course, my course is 12-week program. It's $19.
Damn. Okay. Okay. Todd, how can people contact you?
They can go to my website. It's toddpatkin.com. TODDPATKIN.com. And they can check out my 12-week program. I have all the videos there. They can download the workbook for free. I'll tell you that again. They can download the entire workbook for free. They can download my entire autobiography for free.
Okay. Okay. I have one more question to ask. It knowing what you know about the dangers of being a perfectionist, what would you be able to say right now that could help someone change their views about themselves and their pursuit of being perfect?
Right. The only thing I can say is eventually you'll crack. Eventually you'll break. You'll be like me. You can't be a perfectionist forever.
Mm,
It's impossible. You can't always get A's. You can't always say the right thing.
mm,
And if somebody said, "What's the nicest part of me growing up?" Just turned 60, is I don't really care anymore about what people say about me, and I certainly don't have to be perfect. You know, you and
mm.
I have a podcast, and I think today did very well. But let's say it didn't go good, I could live with that.
Sure.
I could live with it. But if you're a perfectionist, you can't.
Mm,
And eventually that will crack you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So basically, relax.
Well,
Don't take things so serious.
absolutely. I had a fortune cookie once, and it said, "You grow up the day you realize you can't be perfect." It was
Oh,
perfect. Yeah,
it was talking to you.
yeah, exactly. So it was perfect.
Yeah.
So
I hope you kept
so
it.
many kids are like that. It's unfortunate. So many kids just feel like they have to be perfect, and you can't be.
Yeah, yeah. And I would imagine that some of that has to come from being pushed hard by their parents.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
The parents don't understand. It's not the end of the world if they don't get into Harvard. In fact, most Harvard people don't do as well in business. It's about street smarts. It's not about book smarts when it comes
Mm,
to business.
mm.
So yeah, the parents can be the worst enemies for the kids.
Indeed, indeed. Todd Patkin, thank you for coming on and sharing your life, a snapshot of your life with me. And
Thanks, Mark.
ladies and gentlemen, please look for his 12-step program to happiness workbook. And what's the title of your autobiography?
It's called One Man's Quest to Beat Depression and Anxiety and Finally Let the Sun Shine In. Long title. Go to my website, download it for free. I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay.
It's got
Okay.
some wild times with Steven Tyler from Aerosmith.
Ah.
A lot of that, a lot of those experiences, a lot of good stuff.
Nice, nice, nice. Mr. Todd Patkin, thank you, sir. Thank you for coming
Thanks so
on.
much, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. As I always say, guys, it's okay to not be okay. Just do something about it. With that being said, Todd, you have a good rest of your day, sir.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.